Salute to you all. The brave never fall. Self-love through freedom and connection. So feel free to connect to The Brave Never Fall on these social media platforms. If you find anything of value in this following podcast, hit that like button, subscribe and share, and support the brave and bold tribe growing one purposeful soul at a time. There are no coincidences in life. The strength you have is real. Each breath you take is a blessing. Don't give up, give more. Believe in yourself and trust yourself. How are you feeling? Take a moment to do a self-check-in for yourself. How are you feeling mentally? How are you feeling emotionally? How are you feeling physically? How are you feeling spiritually? Are you feeling balanced? Are you still journeying on an intentional, purposeful path? How are you feeling? Balancing yourself is a healthy daily practice that will reliably keep you in harmony with your entire mind, body, heart, and soul. Clear your mind. Take a moment of silence for yourself right now in the moment. You are here now. How are you feeling? No honor is gained without true respect for yourself, your purpose, and your life. At the core of each of us is a spark. And it sounds cliche, but there has to be one or we wouldn't be alive. It takes energy for our bodies to run. It takes energy for our minds to work properly. It takes energy for our hearts to pump. So there is something inside of us that is generated in a sense. And we have to respect that. We have to respect ourselves. We have to remind ourselves constantly that we're important. And it doesn't necessarily have to be important to other people. We are important to ourselves. We are important in our worlds and who we are. It's okay. It's okay to think about yourself more than you think about others. Because if you are constantly thinking about other people, you're neglecting who you are. You are abusing your own self by neglecting to acknowledge and grow who you actually are, who you could be. In retrospect, look back and understand where you came from. It's all important. It's all inside of you. And the more self-respect you have for yourself, the more time you will spend and the more time you should spend making yourself better, growing in a positive way, protecting your mind, your heart, your body, and your soul by any means necessary. Because you are important. You mean something. You do matter. There is nothing that happens in this world that is happening because you're not here. You are a very important piece. We all are. That is why you deserve self-respect not only from others, but most importantly, you deserve self-respect from yourself. In order to live a prosperous, fulfilling life, we must find ways to protect our most precious asset, ourselves. Our lives must be shielded from harm, both accidental and malicious. And most importantly, we must protect ourselves from ourselves. We are born with inherent honor. Self-respect is grown through innocence. The unknown, a bridge to the known. The journey on that bridge, a lifetime. If self-respect is our kingdom, our heart would be the throne. The throne and the ruler who sits upon it is the highest priorities for protection. Nothing is more important, more vital than the preservation of who we are. When we allow our guard to break or fall, we are nothing. We protect our valuable materials every day, as well as our loved ones, yet we often do not protect ourselves in the same magnitude. All of who we are is valuable. It doesn't matter if others see our value the same way we see our own value. What matters is that we recognize and grow upon our worth. Our worth is far more valuable than gold, diamonds, or seven-figure bank accounts. No one is valueless. No one is lost. No one is so weak that their life is insignificant. It's what we do that makes us who we are. What we represent ourselves as, how we carry ourselves, despite what is going on or not going on all around us. Leaning towards forfeit of our lives is an example of a true lack of self-respect for ourselves. We are better than that. Now is the time to recheck our shields, reinforce our boundaries, sharpen our swords, and prepare for whatever is on the horizon that is rushing towards us. Whether we are ready or not, we are at least protected. The self-love and respect for ourselves is our greatest barrier between us and the chaos in this world. We know who we are, and we know our worth. Now be brave, bold, and defend it. Valor under Moonbows, Episode 2, Protecting Your Honor and Self-Respect. One of the greatest stories I've ever seen on film, and I talk about films a lot, but I think they're a good correlation to life. Films are life. We mimic our lives off films regardless of the genre. Films can tell us a lot about ourselves, or how we interpret and perceive protagonists and antagonists in stories and how stories develop. There are parallels and mirrors. So I always looked at films mirror life more than life mirrors films, But when we're talking about honor and self-respect, one of the greatest films I've seen in my lifetime is Amistad by Steven Spielberg. And I believe it came out in 1996. I'm not, somewhere around in there, 96, 97. And it starred Anthony Hopkins as John Quincy Adams. You had Matthew McConaughey as the lawyer Baldwin. And you had Jaimin Hansu, who played Senkei. Now, if you have not seen the story or seen the film of Amistad, I'll go through it and it'll show you what I mean about honor and self-respect in its highest form. Senkei was an African, he was in Africa doing a slave trade. He was part of a village. He was a hunter. And this was towards the end of the slave trade. Right when we're about to start getting into the Civil War, we're on the cusp of that. So this isn't in the slave trade, because remember, slavery lasted for 400 years. So, just think about how long that is. 400 years of taking people, and not just from Africa. This was going on all over the world, of people being taken from the villages, from their tribes, from their homes, and forced into slave labor in another country that they've never seen before. That is, cruelty at its highest. But in this particular case, this is towards the end of slavery. This is when the talks are starting to happen. Is slavery still viable for America at the time? And this particular slave ship called the Amistad, they pick up these Africans. They're out to sea and they're coming back. Senkei and his tribe are on there. And it's a brutal voyage, obviously. You're crossing crossing the vast ocean to get to another country. They've never been on a ship that size. They have no idea what to expect. They don't know where they're going. They don't understand what the people who have imprisoned them are saying. So Senkei and his tribe, after seeing numerous people, the women are being raped. They're down there starving to death. People are dying right next to them, defecating and urinating on themselves. And they're tossing people off who are sick for no reason with their babies. They're tossing pregnant people off the ship if anybody's even thought of being sick, they're just looked at as property, as damaged goods. Goodbye. So, you grab as many people as you can before you get on the ship, because most of them are not going to survive by the time they get to, I shouldn't say most of them, but most of them are not going to be what they were when they got on the ship. And a lot of them were killed, murdered, raped, thrown off unjustifiably, or even if it was justifiably, you shouldn't be on the ship in the first place, but just tossing people randomly. So Senkei and his tribe decide, we have had enough of this voyage. And they overtake the ship. And they decide, we're going back home. So Senkei tries to follow the sun, and he goes back home. The problem is that he hasn't been on the open ocean. He doesn't quite understand what's going on. And they end up getting caught by another ship who sees them all on the deck of the ship. With swords, and it's a African crew on this white slave ship, and they're like, what the hell? So they grab them and they take them to America, where they go on trial for murdering the crew of the Amistad. Now, it's not your typical trial, because why would they try them? Why wouldn't they just? Because at this point in time, slavery was slave trading, not slavery, but slave trading was ending. So there were laws being put in place and talks and in Congress and with the president that there cannot be slavery anymore, mainly because, or at least slave trading, because they're not goods. Whose property is this? So the people who were murdered, the people who own that ship, they're looking at it like this, almost like a machinery accident. This machine murdered my worker, and I need compensation. There needs to be justice for this. They can't just do that. Now, keep in mind, these people have been taken from their homes, and someone's telling them that they can't defend themselves against someone taking them from their homes. Senkei had a wife. He had a family. At this point in time, Matthew McConaughey comes in and he represents Sinkay. And Anthony Hopkins plays John Quincy Adams, the former president, who comes in to help Baldwin, who played by Matthew McConaughey, go through this trial. Now, where we get into the honor and respect is that Sinkay is the reason why this trial went on as long as it did, because he chose to do things that a lot of other Africans in his position did not do. And one of the things he refused to do was back down. He would never allow them to treat him like a dog, like a piece of trash, like some insignificant machine that somebody picked up off the company floor that malfunctioned and now they want to get rid of it. He always carried himself. He stood up tall, shoulders back, and he stood proud for who he was, where he came from, and he did what it was necessary to make sure that maybe he will never see his homeland again, but he was never going to allow them to break him down to the point where he would say he was sorry for doing something that he felt was self-defense. Self-defense of his tribe, self-defense of all the people that were potentially about to be killed on that ship before they even got to where they, because you got to remember, during this time, he doesn't even know where he's going. He takes it upon himself to befriend Baldwin, the lawyer. He takes it upon himself to listen to that word. He took it upon himself to listen. He doesn't even know the language. He knew communication was the key to his freedom. And if they can win the court case, they can go back, because the laws here were that slave trading was essentially over, that the Amazon had no right to take them from their land in the first place because it was essentially over. So they were illegally taking slaves from Africa. Illegally. So the slave trade was over. For this particular vessel, they were not allowed to do it. So can Sinkay and his fellow tribesmen and women be accused of doing something that was illegally transpiring in the first place? That being said, once Sinkay knew that there was hope, he went all in. He started learning English. He started reading the Bible. He started getting his tribesmen to make sure that they are listening. When they go to the courtroom and they're all sitting there, he makes sure he's in charge. He makes sure he leads by example. If we're going to get out of this, we have to be honorable. We have to have self-respect for ourselves. We're not going to act like animals. We're not going to do anything that they accuse us of doing, because we're not that in the first place. They have presumably and assumingly and cruelly made assumptions about who we are as a people, as people from Africa, what our worth is. They are diminishing that. We will sit in this courtroom. We will be quiet. We will listen to this lawyer who's representing us, and we will trust him. And I thought that was very powerful and key to even having a trial, because had any of them acted out, there would be no need for it. They would have just said, listen, let's just get rid of them. They're not worth the trouble of going to trial. But because Sinkay carried himself in a manner that was respectable and honorable, they had no choice, because he wasn't doing what they accused him of doing on the ship. They described the attack on the ship as an attack, that he just suddenly woke up one day and decided to kill these people, the captain and the crew of the Amistad. Yeah, he did, because he had a crime committed against him. He had an injustice committed against him and his family and his people. So that's exactly what he did. And as the trial goes on, of course, nobody wants to lose this trial against a tribe of Africans. There's people who still have skin in the game when it comes to trading slavery from Africa and all over the world. They don't want the slave trade to end. They don't want the integration of blacks and whites. They don't want to see a tribe of Africans be represented by a white lawyer and even a former white president in John Quincy Adams. They don't want this to go to the Supreme Court. You remember, the lawyers, your goal is to get to the Supreme Court on cases like this. Start at the local level and you work your way up. You want to get in front of the Supreme Court, because that's where the laws changes. That's where things big happen in this nation, where things can happen, where you can get it to the highest court and then laws are put in place. Things can be amended. things could be changed and reworked. And that's what the goal was. But I always was super impressed with Senkei of how he carried himself throughout the entire process. And there were a few times he did lose his cool because he didn't understand the culture of how Congress worked, how the president worked. He thought the president was a king, and a king can just do whatever he wants. They had to explain to him, no, president is the president, and underneath him, the true kings are the Senate and Congress and the judges. Senkei didn't understand that. He had to learn these things. So when he went inside of the trial, he didn't get shocked by anything. When there were disappointments, he got down on himself, but he always saw hope. He always thought, I didn't do anything. How can they accuse me of doing something that was done against my people right in front of my face? They accused me of murdering these people on this ship that took me from my land. But I saw them do this to pregnant women, and they're raping people, and they're starving people to death. And yet you guys are coming at us from defending ourselves. I always liked that part of the story. And the story ends where they win the case. They win the case and they're allowed to go back home. And they do go back home. But this is years and years after they were taken. By the time they got back, Senkei's village no longer there, completely run away. He never saw his wife and kids again. And we don't know what happened to Senkei once he went back. We don't know. He went back to nothing. He didn't go back to where he came from. It was completely different, completely changed. But what he did do is that he gave us, especially as African Americans and black people, we needed people like him at the time and still do now. And this is where we get into race aside, because that has nothing to do with a core human element of protecting your honor, is that is just a very good case of protecting your honor. And you can do that with anybody. It's not just a race thing. It's a human thing. Baldwin and Quincy Adams weren't representing Senkei just because they wanted some kind of big payday or some kind of gain. In fact, Baldwin was doing it for free. They were doing it because it was right. They were doing it because they had honor and respect for themselves. It took the honor and respect of all involved to win that case. In so many different areas and levels. How we carry ourselves, especially when we're being tested. When we feel like things are unfair, when we feel like life is really starting to pull no punches and it's coming at us. When that big boulder comes out of the sky, hits you in the back of the head. When it's time to face the mountain and the volcanoes of life. When you are going to be tested with something you don't know how it's going to end. The one thing you can do is stay in a positive light as much as possible, as hard as it may be. As hard as it may be. Because that's where the test is. And the way you do that is by protecting who you are. And I've said this so many times, I always viewed it to visualize for myself, me shielding myself, is that there's these strands that I have that come off of my body as forms of knowledge. And my body, my heart, and my soul, I can visualize myself basically pushing anything that is negative away from me by getting inside of my own head and my own heart, my body, my soul, knowing more about myself, growing more. That is how you protect yourself. You don't protect yourself by diminishing who you are. You have to augment who you are. It's about ascending. The more knowledge you gain, the better protected you are. Remember, Senkei listened. He learned from the lawyer. He learned about the laws. He learned what they could do, what they couldn't do, what the president could do, what he couldn't do. It helped him. It kept him in the moment. It kept him in the game. Because the more he knew about the process, the more he could communicate effectively with those who were helping him. So the more we know, the more we grow, the longer our strands of protection get for us. The longer we can reach. It's almost like a weird superhero where, you could have projectiles coming out of your body. Whatever it is to protect yourself, do it. Do it. The better we are physically, that's protection for our body. The better shape you're in, the better your health, you're protecting your body. You're protecting your heart. Spiritually, if you believe in something, you have good values, morals, and principles, you're protecting your soul. You're protecting who you are. And you do that through self-respect. There are a lot of people in this world who do not have any self-respect for themselves. And that is a completely different thing than self-love. Loving yourself is one thing. Respecting yourself is a completely different thing. You can have all the love in the world for yourself and others, but it's diminished by you not having any respect for yourself or for other people. You can love a lot of things in your life, but not respect it. We see this all the time. This is where abuse and neglect comes in a lot of relationships, a lot of toxic relationships. Two people are in love, but they don't respect each other. You get something you love, or some material thing, but you don't respect it, so you don't take care of it. It ends up broken and damaged and it's thrown away. You love your job, but you don't respect it. You go to work every day, you love the money, but you've been an asshole every day at work to people and half-ass doing your job. You love the job, though, but you're not respecting it. There's a difference. Respect is key in that self-love. If you don't have self-respect for yourself, that self-love doesn't work. And pride. There's a difference between pride and honor. You can be proud of who you are, but do you honor who you are? Honor is about trust. It's about making sure you understand who you truly are. And the things you're protecting, are they worth protecting? Are you protecting bullshit? Are you worth protecting yourself? If we don't feel that we're worth protecting ourselves, and we feel we don't have the proper level of self-respect for ourselves, we cannot ask that from anyone else. Again, I'll go back to Senkei. If he got off the ship and he decided, you know what, I'm going to attack every white person I see, you think anyone's going to respect him? You think his tribesmen are going to respect him? Because that only gets more people hurt. Now your chances of going back are getting slimmer and slimmer because you're just making it worse. No, he did only what he had to do in that moment. The option in the moment was, I need to overtake this crew, take this ship, and go back home. Once that was no longer an option, they had to go along with it. Did they like it? No. He was very angry. He was very upset. He was very emotional. But he had to play the game. He had to hold himself accountable. He had extreme ownership, as Jocko always says, over what he did and over what he is doing. And he never lost sight of what was to gain. Listen. Communicate effectively. Have pride and honor. Don't back down. Pick your battles. Choose your moments wisely. He can do all these things because Senkei came from a place of value and morals and principles for himself. He knew exactly who he was and what he could do. We can also bring in the word self-confidence. He had a lot of self-confidence. He never doubted the process and his role he played in it. Once he figured out the process, he knew his role. He figured out the process by asking questions, getting to know the people who are helping him, and him sharing more of his story so they can get to know him. But there had to be trust built between the two. And that is in anything that we do. There's trust built in other people and there's trust built in ourselves. It's kind of hard to go through the process if you don't trust yourself through the process. It's kind of hard to have self-respect if you don't trust that you could ever get it. So we have to also work on trust, self-confidence, the discipline of this. Senkei, disciplined. He got up every day. He knew what he needed to do. Even during that time, he never dropped his purpose. It always was there. In every decision he made, there was purpose there. He left peace and happiness. He wanted to return to it. He did whatever he had to do to protect what he believed was his life. And nobody had the right to take that away from him or from anyone else around him. And that's very powerful. And we can do that in our lives. That's the reason why having purpose is so powerful. Because if you don't have anything to fight for, if you have nothing to protect, what is the point of going through the process? What is the point of Senkei going through the process if he said, I don't even know why I decided to take those men and overtake the ship. I don't know why I did that. And when I got the ship, I didn't even know where I was going. He didn't say that. He didn't believe that. Choices were made for a reason. There was purpose behind the choices. You go through the process because you know what you want. And you don't know what you want and just sit back and say, I hope I get it. No, damn it. You go get it. You do whatever it takes. If you don't get it, you're gonna give it every single effort you could possibly give until everything is exhausted. And by that time, going through the process, if you are disciplined about who you are and you have respect and love for yourself, you're going to come to terms with the fact that this may not work out as well. This may not go in my favor. A person who's disciplined and have respect for themselves are going to understand that. And it's going to be a major part of their life in every area, in every situation, every experience. It's a carryover effect. You don't just do this one time and then that's it. Again, we're augmenting, we're growing, we're ascending. We are building upon what we've learned before. The more knowledge, the better your health, the deeper you are rooted in your values and spirituality, whatever it is that you do that you know that defines who you really are, truly are. We can't do this stuff half-assed. Either you're all in or you're all out. That is one of the biggest keys to protecting your honor and self-respect, in my opinion. Are you in or are you out with who you are? Or does someone has to motivate you to the point where you don't need motivation? You need clarity. That motivation and inspiration and passion is just simply something that is unattainable for you at this point in time, or for any of us, if we don't have that core, that foundational core of who we are. If we don't know what that is, are we looking for it? Are we trusting we can go through the process? Or are we just dipping our foot in the water and saying, maybe tomorrow I have enough courage to get in this water? No, the time to act is now. Senkei didn't wait to say, those men are up there, maybe we should do it tomorrow. No, they planned it and they did it in the moment. You know when you know. But you have to do it. It's not enough to know. You have to do it. You could sit back and talk about what you're going to do, contemplate what you're going to do, but someone who has respect for themselves, true self-respect for themselves, are not going to wait. You're going to do it. You want to change in your life, there's some goals you want to work on, you don't wait. You do it. That is one of the biggest things I've learned in my life. One of the things that I wish I had known when I was younger. I wasted so much time hoping and praying and wishing that things were going to happen. That there were so many moments that would pop up and I wasn't prepared for them. They were right in front of me and I couldn't even see them. Keyword, clarity. I couldn't see them. It's out of focus, right in my face, because I wasn't ready. I didn't trust myself. I didn't know who I was. And I certainly wasn't disciplined and had any self-respect for myself at the time, not as much as I thought I did. But that is the key. Clarity. We need clarity about who we are. It's time for all of us, every single day, it's time to focus on something and keep working and building on it. There's something you want to work on, you have to commit to it and stick to it. That is what self-respect is. It's not wavering. There are no excuses. There are no exceptions. You just do it. And you do it over and over and over again. No one wants to hear your excuses. Nobody wants to hear your complaints. And nobody wants to hear that you can't do it. Especially if they know that you can. That your excuses are bullshit. That your procrastination is toxic to yourself. Again, this goes back to neglect and abuse of yourself. Self-respect is an elimination of any type of toxicity, abuse, and neglect you can bring upon yourself. Your honor shields you from your own bullshit. It's extremely important. If there are things that are going on in all our lives that are not happening the way that they should, it's not anyone else's fault. There is no situation that is making that happen. It is about you, your perspective, and what you can do to rectify that situation, turn it around. But damn it, you have to stand up, put your shoulders back, and be honest and true to who you are and get the job done. If you have a goal, damn it, make the goal. Don't make excuses. Don't procrastinate. You work on it every day. Don't think 3 weeks from now, I'll pick it back up again. 3 weeks from now, I'll start it again. Do it now. The days that you have, and they will come, where you are not 100%, where you're feeling down, because we all have these things. You get out of it so much quicker when you start knowing that you can do it. But you can't get out of these things if you continue just to stay in them. Something has to change. Something has to change the precedence. Again, just like the slave trade. It took a group of men to overcome slave ship to change the way we view the worth of people, regardless of their skin color, regardless of where they come from. Action had to be taken. And they couldn't wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow they didn't know where they were going to be. They had to do it right then. You have to do it now. Your respect is about who you are now. Self-respect for yourself yesterday and self-respect for yourself tomorrow doesn't mean shit. Who are you right now? What are you protecting right now? Are you committing to who you really are? Or are you just allowing yourself to let another day go by and you did okay and you left so much on the table and you left stuff on the table that you said you were going to do? No one's making you do this stuff. Honor is about taking action, doing what you know is right for yourself, going through the process, committing to who you are, committing to your purpose, to the people you have obligations to take care of and show up for. That is what honor and discipline and self-respect, self-confidence, and self-love is all about. No excuses, extreme ownership, and accountability for who you are. And nothing is going to break that. That is our protection. We stand in it. It is our shield, our armor, and we're proud of it because it gets us through each day. And the next day, and the day after that. But the focus is right now. Today is who you are protecting. The version you are today. That is your main focus. Today, we and I pledge that we will focus on who we are today. In this moment, an hour from now, a few hours from now, we can't worry about what happens hours from now. We can only worry about what we're doing right now. We think too far ahead, things get out of control because we can't control the future. We don't know all the variables and all the things that could possibly happen. We can get a blueprint. We can say, if this happens, I'll do this. And if that happens, I'll do this. But ultimately, we're pledging today. We're going to take our lives not for granted. We're going to look at our lives as what they are. And we're going to pledge to stay true to who we are. We pledge today not to procrastinate. We pledge to do the things today that we said we were going to do. And we're going to be brutally honest with ourselves about it. No procrastination. No excuses. We are pledging ownership today and accountability. That's going to fuel our self-respect and our self-confidence. It's going to give us discipline, at least for today. Who gives a damn what happened yesterday? Who gives a damn what's going to happen tomorrow? But today, we're disciplined. We're focused. We have purpose. No procrastination. No excuses. That is our pledge for today. And it should be the pledge for every day. Through enduring hardships, the tears of pain I shed today will be the tears of joy I shed tomorrow. This is your day. You are here now. These are your moments. You own them. You are brave, bold, powerful. You do believe in yourself. You know you have more in the tank. You know the glass is half full. There's still more room for improvement. There is no end. Believe, believe, believe in yourself. Trust yourself. Trust that you can do whatever it takes to accomplish whatever you want from life. You don't procrastinate. You don't embellish. You don't lie. You are true to yourself always. Knowledge is in your mind. Peace is in your heart. Balance is in your body. Purpose is in your soul. You are greatness. The sky is not the limit. You have purpose, fulfilling, intentful purpose. You are here for a reason. You are unique. You are self-love, self-discipline, self-respect, self-control. You have self-awareness. You are joy, peace, and happiness. You are freedom, and you're connected to every person, place, and thing in the universe. And if no one has told you this today, I love you. You deserve to hear that. Salute to you all. The brave never fall.